Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here, and it's truly an honor. I'm probably the one that took the longest flight to be here. I, I currently live in Silicon Valley, and supposedly the mecca of entrepreneurship and innovation. And when Mr. Abhijit called me to be here, the decision to come, to fly, 20 hours to be here was easy because my heart is here. I left the country about 25 years ago to do my master's and PhD. I'm an IIT alumni, but I left my heart back. But I wanted to see what's out there in the world and really see how we can bring the best of the best back to our home country. So it's truly a privilege to be talking to all of you, with the initial kickoff by Abhijit and then Honorable Chief Minister's inspiring message about the demographic advantage that India has. In fact, my first HBR interview talked about this demographic advantage of India. And after that, I've also spoken at the World Demographic Forum. So for me to hear all of you, including the minister, sir, to talk about this advantage of young people really is very exciting. And in front of all of you, I'm committing myself to deliver change today. And all what I have learned in America, all what my mom and dad taught me while I was here is available for the state of Maharashtra, for all the young people. So let me start with defining what a social learning is. It's actually very simple. It's the concept of learning from each other. And that is how we have survived for thousands and thousands of years. And India has mastered it compared to every other country. Because when every other country and every other civilization was attacked, they ended up in the museums. But India is so powerful because we have kept alive our tradition, our heritage, our languages, our literary texts, which is really amazes me. So I said, how can we leverage this power of learning from each other to create a massive change? And I told myself, what if 100 million people really connected and learned from one another? Now that's a big mission. How do I do it? And then it happened to be a rainy day, and Mother Nature gave me the solution. If you think about it, this is the best designed water circulation system. If you look at the source of the oceans of salt water and the evaporation that brings the fresh water up into the clouds, but the clouds never shower, from where the actual water comes from. It showers where the conditions are right. And then it flows right back to the mountains, to the rivers, back into the ocean. So I said, aha, this can be done. Now, do we have the supply? Can we do something similar to circulate wisdom? Because I'm talking about 100 million people. So I said, I worked in the supply chain planning. I worked in the 787 Dreamliner. So I always think of supply and demand. And for me, mentors are supply of wisdom. And demand are the young people we talked about all day today. If you combine the intellectual capital of all of us here, and we know 10 people who are very good with agriculture or life sciences or entrepreneurship, and they know 10 other people, the combined intellectual wisdom, what God has gifted us here, it surpasses any library on the planet. So we have the supply. Now, not only is this supply available, but it's also accessible because we are all connected today. But we need to make those connections meaningful. We need to make those connections, live. And the demand is clear. We have heard over and over again today, there are millions of young graduates that all look like me 20 years ago, and it's really our time. Honorable Chief Minister said we have only 5 years. And I said, my mission is to connect 100 million people by 2020. So we don't have a lot of time. So that's why the timing of this conference, of this forum, is so wonderful because we have to come together. The demographic dividend, the advantage is right, the technology is right, and even more importantly, the leadership is amazing at the national level and at the state level, what we have heard. Now guys, I'm telling you, I've been in Silicon Valley for the last 16 years, and this is not what America is focused on. So this is our time. This is our country's time. We were like this probably 500-600 years ago before we were attacked over and over again, but we still kept our advantage today. That's what gives me hope, that this whole social learning concept parents teaching children, children teaching other children. We're all helping each other. It's just phenomenal time for us, and it's our time to take advantage of it. So I designed a cloud where the supply of wisdom, where we are getting all the mentors in one place. We are basically creating a database of what their expertise is, whether it's agriculture, life sciences, entrepreneurship, fundraising, and then the demand is clear, and then our company is really that wisdom circulation engine. It's cloud powered. In fact, the cloud in our name is the real cloud. What Silicon Valley calls a cloud is some distant computer resources. So we're talking about circulation. And if you need to reach millions of people, like Mr. Abhijit is talking about, we need to use technology, and we need to use the power and the intent of people. Because everywhere I go, in all the talks I give, I see people want to give back. Because I did not have the mentorship when I was growing up, beyond my mom and dad. And Abhijit, you mentioned today, the resources that we have today, we should be give to every young person in this country. Now, why now? Again, we have talked about this all day today. There are 500 million young people. That's more than the combined population of America and Canada. That's our demographic advantage. And Honorable Chief Minister said, if you don't do this right, if you don't work together and have forums like this, that dividend can be a disaster. I just love that quote. Demographic dividend. It's got to create a human resource for the world. Now, the employability, unfortunately, is not very high. And we talked about skills. I really enjoyed the breakout session this morning. And we need to address this. Because if the 85%, we don't want them to be on the streets. We got to skill them, and we got to do this very fast. And the other advantage we have is, for the first time, we have a multi-generational workforce. We have baby boomers who are going to retire in the next 10 years. We have Generation X like myself, and then a large number of millennials who are born in technology. So they don't talk like us, they don't think like us, but they are super committed to the world. They are much more value-driven, much more impact-driven than us. And because of the technology change is so rapid, our skilling also has to be rapid. No university on the planet can take 500 million people. So how do we do it is through social learning. And companies that with employees across multiple locations, and of course, because of the low employability, it is hard to find talent. So there are these challenges we have heard over and over again, and this is the reason why the timing is now. Now, I talked about the classroom model because that's what the Industrial Revolution created. I call it the Learning 1.0. It's a one solution fits all approach, but we all know our children don't learn the same way. Our children don't speak the same language. And so one size fits all approach will not work when we're talking about large numbers. Online learning, I call it Learning 2.0. Again, it's a one size fits all approach. You can transfer content, but you cannot transfer the context. So what I call the Learning 3.0, which is the time now, is what I call a social learning, or you can call it peer-to-peer learning. And that's what we need to enable. And we have heard about the power of mentors, whether it is high school entrepreneurs, whether it's young people looking for their first job. We got to connect them. Now the benefits. I talked about the context. When two people are talking, let's say I'm approaching an investor and I need to learn how to make a presentation. The person I'm working with, a mentor, is going to just focus on that alone. So the contextual learning makes the learning that much more impactful. And I'm also able to retain that knowledge much, much quickly. It's also personalized. And even more importantly, the peer-to-peer learning or social learning can be highly targeted to the goals. Like this morning, we heard about this climate resilient agriculture. What a lovely term. The first time I'm hearing today. I don't think America, everybody's talking about it because of all the other noise in the country. So imagine if you want 1,000 women entrepreneurs who in agriculture to come up with new solutions. A peer-to-peer learning can really help because we know exactly what mentors to go after. We can recruit them. Hey, we are looking for the best of the best agricultural experts, the farmers. Some of them retired. Let's engage them. America is only talking about the health of the people who are older. In India, we should really engage them intellectually, because intellectual engagement of all the experts is actually healthy for them. So we can actually have a very targeted group of mentors, understand which girls across all the colleges are interested in agriculture, and really achieve the targeted goal. We can actually get 1,000 entrepreneurs, women in 1 year because of highly targeted capacity of a social learning solution. It's also on demand because our children, they are essentially a WhatsApp generation. Everything is instant. A YouTube movie is instant. A song is instant. A message is instant. I have an 18-year-old. It's just complete night and day. The way we grow up, for us, nothing is instant. I had to work for everything. I had to go to the library to really carry big books to see something. These children just click a button and they get it. So we have to meet their needs, what they grew up with. They don't know going to a library and making a photocopy. They think we came from caves. And boundaryless. This is what is the exciting part because for the first time, just like the cloud has no boundaries, can you tell where this particular water drop came from? We can't. Same thing can happen with wisdom too. We should remove boundaries. The experts around the world, if there is a cause, we can rally them all up. And I've seen the cause here to really make Maharashtra. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of people. I just love it. We have to think big because we have only one lifetime. Might as well think big. Why use our God-given life to solve a small problem? And even more importantly is peer-to-peer learning builds camaraderie. Look how we all came together here. Imagine 50,000 mentors, 300,000 students, all working towards a goal by 2020. They're all going to be more engaged to a common cause. Now, what are the benefits? Now, this is something very personal to me is along with skills, a social learning can also transfer values because we don't want skilled people who don't have the basic ethics and values. When my dad taught me something, he also taught me the importance of being on time, speaking respectfully, falling at your mother's feet. It's all taught. So that's the power of the human voice, which an online course cannot transmit. It's being able to transfer values and ethics. And when you engage 50,000 people across these 12 or 14 companies, you engage them saying, hey, you are going to carry the flag of Maharashtra. Imagine how committed they will be. Instead of them going in the morning, taking the train, go to work, and come back in the evening, have dinner, and just watch a movie and sleep, this is going to create commitment to that common cause. And we can also create rapid results because we are inspiring them to act. There is no exam, there is no test. You don't have to motivate them. And it's highly scalable because we are using the power of the people. We are using the will of the people to contribute, so highly scalable. And this is again, very, very important. I learned so much from my daughter, the way she uses Instagram or Twitter or anything else. So all the demographic dividend of the experts that we're talking about, this can create a bi-directional learning because some of us in the 50s and 60s did not grow up with technology. So we can learn in return so that we feel more engaged instead of always complaining about these young people. So now that power of bidirectional learning, and most importantly, it's about being able to identify who those future leaders are. We need leaders in every sector, in banking, in politics, in technology, in agriculture. So this is an opportunity for, I call it the 3 C's, the corporations, the communities, and the countries. Now, our company Mentor Cloud, it's a work in progress because today we are already working, connecting alumni of universities with students because alumni are the supply and the students are the demand. So we are already working in South Africa, in Spain, in America, working with business leader organizations, networks of CEOs, women entrepreneurs in Africa, in Canada. We're working with companies, kind of bringing the employees together. Imagine a company like GE with 200,000 employees. They also need a way to connect and leverage that supply of wisdom. Working with startups, we heard so much about startups. Startups is the only way to change the world. There is no way a government can hire 500 million people. So startups is the only way. We heard about it, and we're already working with many, many startup communities. And we get inquiries all over, from Australia, from Sweden, from Canada. It's incredible. Because that's why we are called the Facebook for learning, because it's not enough to share cat videos or share jokes. We got to use our connections much more meaningfully, much more powerfully. And when we do that, we can truly accelerate change. So I've launched a university because people are not taught how to ask for help and how to give help. Yeah, I want to help, but I don't know how to do it. So I've actually just launched a book called The Art of Mentoring. I have some copies. I would be happy to give them to you because I want every student, every young person to think both ways. How can I ask for help and how can I give help? It's as simple as that, because God did not send us to do things alone. We are part of a community. I think, we heard in the morning about this village square idea. So we have to ask for help, but that skill is not taught in schools. Asking for help is considered as a weakness, whereas in Silicon Valley it's considered as a strength, because we don't know it all. So we have to ask for help. So this book, it talks about how to do that in a way that you don't waste time of the mentor, you don't waste time of your own. So I'll be happy to give copies. And in fact, the foreword is written by somebody is a multi-billion company's chairman, Sammy Lee. And in his book, he talks about if you take the interests of others first, your interests will be taken care of. In his book, The Autopilot Leadership Model. So I'll be happy to give some copies of the book. Really, I'm here to show my commitment to deliver change, and we can do this together. I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling the time has come for India, and with the tremendous visionary leadership at the national level, at the state level, it's phenomenal. Every other country is not doing it. And with the demographic dividend we have, with the technology, and with our own people all over the world doing so incredibly well, it's time to really bring them all together under a common cause. And I'm truly delighted. And again, thank you, Abhijit, for inviting me for this session. And my heart is here, so it'll always be beating here to deliver change for this state. Thank you so much for your attention.